So in this video, I'm going to address a problem that is brought to me more often than you might think. And that's, people tell me, well, first of all, they ask, what sort of markers you use? It's the most common question that I get. I get it all the time, constantly. What markers you use? What markers you use? I always say, well, I use StyleFile markers, but and a few pro markers and numerous other markers, but generally what they're asking for is what are you using to colour your normal pieces, and the answer is StyleFile markers. These ones. Anyway, the thing is, these are expensive. I'm aware that these are expensive. You know, I'm very lucky because I get sponsorship and that kind of stuff. But I didn't in the beginning, and most people are starting out, well, all people are starting out aren't getting bankrolled for them now. I mean, yeah, some of them may be a bit wealthier than others, but most people don't have 500 quid to spend on a set of markers. And what they do have, they might have some felt tips kicking around the place now, but they're going to be very basic. So what can they do? Because they're going to have something like this. Something like that is what they're going to have kicking around. Something from school, maybe, or just something that they've got hanging around the house. They might not even have this, but even if you don't have this, and even if you've only got the money to buy something like this is sort of the video for you. Because what do you do if this is what you have and you don't have any more money right now to buy anything else? Well, the game isn't over for you, right? So first of all, what if you don't have any money at all other than to get like a set of pens like that, and that's it? What do? So I'll tell you what you do. You don't try and use them all on a piece. That's the first thing you do. Do not try to use these colours together, because the odds of you being able to put together a nice combination are virtually zero. That's the first thing to say. First of all, and I was talking about this to somebody earlier, the virtues of talking about colour theory to people who are just starting out, it's a very limited use, very limited. You start getting technical with people and it just sounds like technicalities, that it just sounds like gibberish. You need to know, what can I do right now? The first step is you need to put colours together that actually work together. And that is very simple. I mean, I can show you colour wheels. I've got other videos where I go into colour wheel stuff and all that sort of stuff. But for you as a shorthand right now, what goes together? Right, and I'm talking about single colours, literally, like which of these pens can I put together to make something work? I can't put those together really. The reason being, like, I use yellows and pinks together all the time, but that's because I have different tones. I've got, let's have a think, count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've probably got about 10 different pinks that I use together on a piece. This collection, I've got one pink. I've got a purple. Those two might go together if we push the rest aside. Pink and a purple. Okay, that's a possibility. What else we got? We've got a yellow and an orange. They go together nicely. Now that might really work, because I might even be able to do something with the blend there. Blue and a green, potentially, maybe. Green and a yellow, maybe, but looking at that, well, the thing is also, I'm going on the cap. We'll get into that in a second. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say nuh-uh. This is normally a killer combination. However, if you're dealing with work which is going to be flat, and the reason it's going to be flat is because you've only got one colour. You don't have extra colour values to give it any depth. So it's just going to be flat work. I'll show you what I mean by that straight away. Now, let's open up. This is my cute colouring book. Some of you are already proud owners of this, I know. Let's do something on this fella. This one, yeah. So, first of all, I'm gonna bring over my trusty swatch palette here. Let's see what these colours actually are. So this is a green, right? We can see what colour the lid is. So that is darker than the lid. You can see straight away. If I make a swatch there, that's darker. Good to know. Yellow. How does this marry up? I mean, again, it's sort of duller, darker than its lead. Do they go together? Well, personally, I wouldn't be putting these together. And the reason I wouldn't be putting them together is because I still have to do things flat. Everything would have to be flat. And what I want to do, if I can, is I want to give it some depth. So I'm looking at these two colours. These are the ones I'm looking to use, because I'm thinking if I put that and that together, maybe, just maybe, I might be able to do something with that. Now, some colours, you're lucky because they will lay down more pigment as you go. I'm not sure these ones are because they're too cheap. No offence to these, they're good cheap markers. I like them a lot. Oh, slightly darkening there. Basically, it just means that the more you go over them, the more you candy coat them, the darker they get. Yeah, a little bit. There's a tiny bit of variation, not very much, so I wouldn't bank on it. So out of my colours there, I've chosen orange and yellow. The rest I can't. I mean, well, tell you what. Let's just run the pink and the purple out just to see. So first of all, okay, so that's much brighter than that, obviously. So generally, we're seeing that the colours are duller and a little bit darker than their cap, generally speaking. Now that, yeah, same, generally. So as lovely as these colours may be, I would hesitate to put them together, and I'm more likely to use these ones because I might be able to do something with these. And with that in mind, let's try to do something. So when I'm talking about something being flat, what I'm talking about is this kind of thing. So if I colour this in, sorry, I'm going too fast here. I don't want to get to hang about. And I want to do it in real time if I can without any cuts. There we go. There's a nice messy job. Right, okay, so that is flat colour there. It's flat colour. Now, sometimes if you go over again, it can get a bit darker. Can you see that? Now, I don't know if that will dry any darker. It might not. That's not significantly darker anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see what this orange does if I slap it in there. So what I'll do, I'll run it in there because I just want to see if I can achieve a bit of shade. Basically, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for sort of some tonality, some different values, so I can shade. So I'm going to go back over that with my yellow, because that will take the heat out of that orange a little bit. And I'm looking at that thinking, you know what, for cheap colours, that's not bad. You know, it's not a brilliant effect, but it's not bad, you know. Considering these pens, you know, 6 pens like that probably cost you £1. You can do something, you know, you can always do something with the materials on offer. You know, if I was to go over this whole thing, if I was to go over the entire drawing and just, you know, fill it all and find a way of, if I was, you know, just to do it, say in if I made a decision kind of going, no, I'm just going to do it in oranges and yellows, see how I can pull this off, see if it will work. Can you see already potentially how this might work. You know, and I re-emphasise, these are in no way fancy pens. These are what we call snide Sharpies. We call them snides, you know, basically sort of fake Sharpies, shuttle art they're called. I've done a video on these before. But for what they are, they're very effective. I mostly use them in the Cineo, the blow pen, blow airbrush thing, manual airbrush, because they're very effective for that. So I'll just do a bit more. I'll do a bit more on this, because I want you to see the overall effect, what might be able to be achieved here. So what I'm doing, obviously, I'm covering this in a sort of big, flat yellow. It'll just be a flat colour. Sorry, I'm working far too quick. I just don't want to do any edits because I want you to see it all. I want you to see exactly what I'm doing. Edits on videos are great and everything, they're brilliant, but you don't see the whole process, and so sometimes you kind of think, well, how do you get to that bit? Hang on. Okay. Then I'll just start, what I'll start doing is I'll start going in with sort of low light shading. So this is normally what I'm doing with the orange here. I'd normally do this just with a darker yellow, but I don't have a darker yellow. So I'm doing it with this orange instead to see how that works. And actually, it's all right. Now I want a bit of reflected light there, so I'm not going to go all the way to the edge there. There we go. I'm really sorry I'm doing this so quickly, but you know, you'll get the picture. There we go. I just want to smash these lines a little bit so we get a bit of blend, a bit of blur on there. I'm going to show you something in a minute as well, which, again, you don't need anything fancy for. This is like stuff you've got around the house, this kind of thing. So you see where I'm going with this? You can see this, can't you? You can see what I'm doing here. Maybe just sort of a little bit there. Maybe a bit there. A bit there. Wow. I really shouldn't work this fast, but hey, there we go. Do a nice hard line there. Maybe sort of do a bit of shadow on that. There we go. So with two very cheap pens, I have an effect. Now, if I want to go even further, either I can take my my inking pens, which are, where's my other inking pen gone? There it is. So this is the Pigmographic, and this is what does the fat black line around the edge that you can see, and this is the fine line of the 0.4, which does the finer lines that you can see. I could take either of them, and I can begin to do something which, I mean, normally you'd do this earlier on in the process, but you can do it here as well. I can start to just sort of darken in with crosshatch. I can just start to darken in bits. You don't have to be an expert on crosshatching. Just add, you know, just chuck some lines around, see what works. Because you see, it just darkens areas. These bits need to be a bit darker. Shall I do there? Yeah, there you go. Obviously, I'm throwing this together. You'll be a lot more careful when you do it. So you can just begin to give it a bit more tonality again. Darken values. Give it a bit more depth. There we go, this sort of stuff. Now, if you don't like the idea of using crosshatch, what you can do, and I don't know if this will work because I don't know if this lead is really, this is an HB lead I've got here. So you take your pencil and you can go in like this. Oh God, that's a bit dark. Oof. Now, I love the use of pencils, but and use finger to smudge it. And what that will do, that will just give you a darker value. These, by the way, you know, I wouldn't say this if you could, if you can afford lots of expensive pens, then great, you don't need to do any of this. But most of us did all this sort of stuff when we were coming through as nippers, as kids, because we didn't have any money and we needed the cheapest route possible. So we did all this sort of, so we learned to do all this sort of stuff, you know. This is what we learned to do. You learn to do art using really simple materials. Now, that it's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but it is effective. And it's what it's going to do as well. It's going to teach you technique. So when you get more expensive markers, it's going to be a breeze. Your life is going to be so easy. Now, I just want to go back a second to these markers again. So, right, so these are your markers, and this is what you've got. This is your second option. So I've given you one big option on how to use these, putting, you know, being very careful to put two together that work really well, that kind of thing. There's another option, and that is if you've got a tiny bit more money. So a tiny bit more money. If you can spare yourself an extra £20 or something, then rather than get a few more markers of different colours, what I'd suggest is you get some of these. Get some really nice pens. Now, you don't have to get pencils. You don't have to get these particular ones. These are what's called Supracolor Soft. They're made by Caran d'Ache, Swiss company. Very, very cool company. You can see how much mine have been worn. What you want to do is you want to get soft pencils. They've got to be soft. Cheap pencils are always very hard and not very blendable, but these ones are very soft and very blendable. So I'm going to show you what you can do with these. Let's take a nice dark one like that. See, the beauty of pencils is that pencils are gradable. What do I mean by that? What I mean is you vary the colour value depending on how much pressure you're applying. So that's nice and light there, obviously. I always smudge pencils with finger, always. That's a bit darker, like that. That's a bit darker still. That's really dark. So that's just about pressure. That's just about how much pressure you're applying. Now, if I take my blue, so of my 6 colours that I've got here, 6 ink colours, I've got a nice blue here. So I've got a nice blue. Is it a nice blue? Let's swatch it and see. Yes, I like that blue. That's sort of like I guess we call that a cyan blue. Yeah, again, it's darker than the cap colour. That's what we'd expect, pretty much. It might dry a bit lighter. It's quite a nice blue, though. I quite like a sort of oily looking blue. It's rather nice. What can I do on this? I'll tell you what, I'll just do is that. No, I want something that I can do a bit more variation with. What should I do? Let's do some of these buildings. Just lay down some flat colour to begin with. There we go. I'll just do it uniformly. I won't sort of I won't candy coat. I'll keep it fairly messy. There's no need to do anything too swish, just to demonstrate this point. There we go, there we go, and that's done. So, oh, go on, I'll colour that as well. So that will dry a tiny bit lighter, and as that's drying, I look at this, I think, all right, if my light source is coming from the right, hitting this plane, if it's coming, sorry, I'll explain that again. If it's coming from the right, it's going to hit this plane. This plane is going to be in more shadow or darkness. So I could completely blitz this in the dark blue, or I could do some more interesting sort of faded colours. Down here, I will definitely darken it. I'll darken it right in. So let's see what can be achieved if I darken it in. So I'll work nice and heavy down here. There we go, nice and heavy, but slowly getting lighter. So upward strokes like that, soft upward strokes. And when I've got an effect that looks pretty good to me, I'll give it a nice bit of a rub. And there we go. Now up here I'll do the same kind of thing. I'll darken that in like that, darken that in like that. And what I'll do, downward strokes, same kind of thing. Nice and light, because I can just add and add and add. There we go. You know, you can achieve quite nice effects with cheap pencils as well. I don't have any cheap pencils anymore. I've chucked them out because I've got more expensive ones. And I've literally no use for cheap pencils, and you won't either once you have some nice pencils, and you'll wonder why you took so long to invest in them. But you can achieve fairly good effects still with cheap pencils if you are forced to. But if you're not forced to, then don't bother, is my advice. Get yourself some nice ones. You will not regret it. There, so you can achieve these kind of effects, and you could achieve that if you wanted to do the whole thing in blues like that. Same thing basically, you know, do nice flat colour, go over it with the blue pencil again, you know, this kind of stuff. And there, essentially all you've got is two colours there. You just got two colours, but you can achieve some nice effects with them. So this is all on a budget. If you were confined to do something on a really, really tight budget, and we all were in the beginning, trust me, I had so few pens early on. A lot of the time I worked in fact, at one point I had 2 magic markers. This is going back, how long? 35 years. I had 2 magic markers, right? One was a green one and one was a red one. The colours didn't even go together. I wonder if I've even got, I remember doing a piece like that. I wonder if it still exists. I might try and dig it out, see if it does still exist. But yeah, I had a green and a red. They don't even go together. You know, they're sort of ugly looking together. But it was all I had. So it's what I had to practice with. I had to try and make it work somehow. I'm not convinced I ever did make it work, to be honest, because what you really need is you need to be able to grade a bit of a colour, even the most basic kind of way, you know, like with this kind of stuff, or, you know, with this kind, or with this kind, if you have to. But that's how you take very basic colours and work with them. And like I say, you know, learn to love the crosshatch. It is it's a great sort of helper if it comes to, you know, like early comic production, for instance. In early comic production, what you get, I think it was a 6-colour process, so the colours were very, very limited. And so what the artists do, they give all the kind of texture and body and depth and everything with cross-hatching, using pens similar to this, or maybe a brush or whatever. And then they colour it with very simple colours. But the thing is that the colours don't need to do the heavy lifting. If you've got a piece which is like this, which essentially starts with very little, it's like a wire frame, basically. It's like a wire frame, that's all it is. You don't get any depth or different tonal values or anything on that. The colour has got to do the heavy lifting. You've got to do something with colour that's going to make it work. And if these are the only colours you've got, then this is what you need to work out. How I'm going to do something which just makes it leap out a little bit. Just using, you know, what you're using your you know, your outliners, your blacks, and those basic things. So I hope that was helpful, chaps, and I will be back again for more very soon.